Are you kidding me? This is a complete and utter joke. The Cowboys' disrespect has started early this season. The first edition of the NFL Power Rankings are not too kind to the Dallas Cowboys, but maybe they want it that way because when the expectations get too high, that's when they tend to crumble. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Cowboys Digest. Welcome in everybody to Cowboys Digest. I'm your host Peter Vryonis, and today we're going to be discussing the first edition of the NFL Power Rankings. And look away, Cowboy fans, because it is not too kind to the boys that we love. But just a reminder before we get into the video that around 85% of you guys are not subscribed, so hit that subscribe button. Make sure to leave a like as well, and give me your thoughts on the Power Rankings. And stick around for more daily Cowboys content, so you won't want to miss out on that. But let's get straight into it. Let's take a look at the first edition of the Power Rankings here. This is after week 1. This is courtesy of Pro Football Talk. And you have to look all the way down at number 12 to find the Dallas Cowboys, who were actually one of the big movers into number 12. This just does not make sense to me. Okay, at the top, I understand it. The Kansas City Chiefs are by far and away the best team in the NFL. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. They're looking for a three-peat. They should be at number 1. And the Lions should be probably at number 2. And the 49ers at number 3. I'm fine with that. But then you have the Ravens at number 4, who played a pretty close Thursday night football game to open up the NFL season against the Chiefs. They're at number 4. Then the Eagles, okay, fine. The Bucks at number 6. That seems a little bit high for me, but they did make the playoffs, and they did win a playoff game as well. So whatever, fine. Like if you want to put those teams in the top 6, go for it. But to have the Cowboys at 12 after that dominant display that they put up in Cleveland, it just doesn't make sense to me. And that's not even the worst part. These were the preseason rankings courtesy of Pro Football Talk. You'll have to look on the right side to find the Dallas Cowboys, who are behind teams like the Los Angeles Chargers, the Los Angeles Rams, the Falcons, the Steelers, who didn't even score a touchdown in week 1, the Jets, who looked awful against San Francisco, the Bears, who have a rookie quarterback. I know he's the first overall pick, but this is the ultimate form of disrespect for a team that has been really good in the regular season over the past few years. I understand the playoff shortcomings, but let's not kid ourselves. The Dallas Cowboys have been one of the best regular season teams over the last decade in the National Football League. Like, you don't need advanced analytics to go ahead and tell you that. Now, for you to have them at 12 before the season started would have been the ultimate form of disrespect, but to have them at 19, that's just plain delusional. Who's making these rankings? Is it Stephen A. Smith? Is he over there twiddling his thumbs and seeing how he can upset Cowboys Nation today? Like, who is in charge of this? I could have made a better list than this, and I don't get paid to talk football for a living. So whoever are the clowns that came up with these rankings, go ahead and check yourself, because it just does not make sense. And to have the Bengals at number 14 after losing to the New England Patriots, who you still have at 25, I mean, that just like, what are we doing here? Are we buying that much stock into week 1 that the Packers were moved down 7 spots and the Jets were only moved down 2? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Now I understand the Cowboys didn't make too many moves offensively, and you could even argue that they got worse offensively. But one thing that they did do over the offseason is get significantly better defensively with some internal upgrades, with some draft upgrades, and some free agent signings as well. You take a look at this over here. Trevon Diggs and Micah Parsons both said, y'all haven't seen anything yet regarding Mike Zimmer's defense for the Cowboys. Diggs went as far as saying there are 50-plus sets in Zimmer's playbook. How many did they show in the blowout win versus the Browns? 3. 3 different sets against the Browns, and they still won 33-17, and they made Deshaun Watson look like a Pop Warner quarterback. So that is the only thing that the Dallas Cowboys did in Week 1. And what did that do? It earned them the number 12 spot in the power rankings behind teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were great defensively. No one is doubting their defensive prowess, but they put up 18 points on 6 Chris Boswell field goals. The Miami Dolphins squeaked out a win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are not a good football team. And what do? They get a top 10 appearance. The Buffalo Bills beat the Arizona Cardinals, who they have in the number 26 spot by 1 possession. That earns them a number 7 spot. And, the Buccaneers, the team that won a playoff game last year somehow, miraculously, they beat the 29th ranked Commanders, and that earns them a top 6 spot in the rankings. I've never been one to buy into power rankings because I really don't think they mean anything. All that matters is the playoffs. And if you look at the power rankings for the playoff teams last year, the Green Bay Packers were last or among some of the last teams to be ranked. And what they do, they went out and they shelled the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium, and they almost beat the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. So it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean bleep, for lack of a better word, because they're just power rankings and they're just predictions, pretty much. Like, you could be paid to talk football, but you can't tell the future, and you don't know what the future holds. So that's why I'm not too angry about this, but maybe it's a good thing, because in the past few years we've seen the Cowboys always ranked within the top 10, maybe even the top 5, and that has resulted in multiple playoff failures. So maybe the expectations being lower than they were in years past could work as a benefit to the Cowboys. There's not as much pressure on them. There's always going to be pressure when you're wearing the star on the side of your helmet and when you're playing for America's team. There's always going to be pressure in that regard. But let's say some pundits or analysts don't think that you have what it takes to get across the finish line, then maybe that works in your favor. Maybe you're going to be overlooked from week to week in some scouting reports. Maybe other teams aren't giving you the credit that you deserve, and that's when you pounce. But this screenshot right here, showing the versatility that Mike Zimmer brings to the table, I think that is the biggest wrinkle that the Cowboys have added heading into this season. Getting Trevon Diggs back in itself is a massive addition. He missed all of last year with a torn ACL. So getting him back in full health and another ball hawk in your secondary, I think that helps you immensely if you're the Dallas Cowboys. DeMarvion Overshown, he comes in and he adds a different element at the linebacker position. He's got breakaway speed, and you saw how he contained Deshaun Watson and him scrambling outside of the pocket last week. So there are multiple different ways that this Cowboys defense can attack you. Micah Parsons is arguably the best defender in the National Football League. So there's another added wrinkle to your team. And the fact that he's not just an edge rusher this year. He lined up as a linebacker for a few snaps. He played as a defensive tackle for 10 snaps or so against Cleveland. So he's very versatile, and he can play a multiple different positions for you. So the Cowboys have those versatile athletes that they can plug into multiple positions across the field, and that allows them to really be a nightmare defensively for you. So I think the Cowboys, yes, they got worse offensively, but their defense is miles ahead of where it was last year just because of some of the names that they brought in. Eric Kendricks. They got DeMarvion Overshown coming in, who missed all of last season. They got Trevon Diggs back, who was one of the best secondaries in the National Football League before he went down with the ACL surgery. So you got a ton of different options. Kalen Carson as well, the 5th round draft pick. He's coming in and he's doing a job for you. So it's a week-to-week thing. This is only 1 week, so let's not overreact after one win against Cleveland. But it's going to be a big test on Sunday against the New Orleans Saints, and that's going to say a lot about how the Cowboys are going to unfold this season. How are they going to react after a massive win on the road against Cleveland? Are they going to come out with maybe their guard down and not give it all they have? Or are they going to keep the foot on the gas and make sure to stomp on the New Orleans Saints and start off the season 2-0? That's a big question mark heading into week 2. Hopefully they pull it out. Hopefully the Cowboys can keep moving up in these power rankings because they started off as number 19, so could only go up from there, right? You never want to be in the same conversation as teams like the Broncos and the Rams and the Chargers. I mean, the Cowboys deserve better than that. I think they deserve better than this as well, number 12. I'm not happy with what I'm seeing out of Pro Football Talk, and maybe they should change that name. Maybe they're not so pro after all, and hopefully the Cowboys prove them wrong. But that'll wrap it up for this episode of Cowboys Digest. Again, a reminder to each and every one of you to hit the subscribe button because about 85% of you watching are not subscribed. So make sure to go and do that right now. But I will see you guys tomorrow, and go Cowboys.